much for taking the time to do this. Overall, keep it simple at the start. You having a good day so far? I know it's early.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Got my coffee and everything.
That's all that you need. Okay, 2023 then overall so far. We are in August, so in the latter half of it. Has it been a satisfying year for you so far? And what's been the highlight of the past 7 or so months?
Yeah, 2023 has been pretty cool. Some highlights: finishing the album, relocating to Hollywood, which is pretty cool. It's kind of on the up and up, which is nice. Yeah.
Do you feel like you've had a busy one? You feel like you've been able to consistently just keep yourself busy?
Yeah, I mean, recording, doing all that sort of stuff, and then mixing, mastering the products or the CDs and stuff like that, and doing all the media. So yeah, just always busy. So always working on something.
Do you enjoy this part of it where it's the build, effectively, the long and slow build to a release? You've done all the work you need to do to have it ready to get out into the world, and now you're just, as you say, promoting, doing interviews, press releases, and so on. Do you like that side of it?
Yeah, I actually enjoy it. Actually, this time around is a little bit better for me because I actually got the album done sooner than I expected to. So I actually have all this kind of leeway time to work on other elements and assets to kind of for the main push, and then content that's going to be coming out afterwards, probably for the next 4 to 5 months afterwards.
Oh, so you've got more time to really plan it out step by step, kind of.
Yeah, I have a lot of video content. Like when I drove out here cross country, I actually filmed like the whole drive, so that's actually that's going to be part of like the visuals for like the full album YouTube version of the album, which will be later down the road.
Oh my God, that's incredible. I love that. That is amazing. I make you almost picture a movie on my head. The idea of listening to the album from beginning to end with your visuals along the way.
Yeah, yeah, and then I'll cut in some footage I did, like, that's kind of inspired like the artwork for each song on the album. So I'll intercut that as well. So.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. It's awesome to be speaking to you at this specific point, because I'm kind of talking about an interesting point in your musical career. We're less than a month away from the release of your brand new album. It is, of course, Just Drive. Get the name out there right now. A different Joey Diabolic album, to say the least. Where's your head at with it right now? Are you still enjoying it, or are you kind of want to out into the world so other people can judge it?
It's nice to be able to enjoy it for myself, but I am really interested in how it's going to be received, since it's pretty dramatic difference from what I've normally kind of put out and what I'm, I guess, known for, per se. And but I feel like you can kind of dial in. It's like, oh, that does still sound like him. It's just through this different lens, sort of thing.
I think that's the right way to put it there. Absolutely. It is still you. It's a different lens. It's a different level of creativity. So talk to me then kind of about your vision for this album. We're going back to the early points. What did you want to show with it? And how far out of your own comfort zone were you willing to push yourself?
Yeah, so yeah, this is definitely a side of myself like I never felt comfortable really showcasing musically, but I just got to a point where I'm like with the 7 EP, it's like I'm like, all right, I'm starting to kind of like mess with the idea of like more ambient, more chill tracks. That's cool. I had these songs that I had started kind of putting together during my cross country drive out here. And a lot of it was really inspired by the drive out here and the music I was listening to, which was like America, Tom Waits, Morphine, The Police, like all that sort of vibe. And then just being in different states, places I've never been to before, and just really kind of soaking in the experience and everything. And LA is a vibe as well. I was like, all right, well, if I'm gonna try doing this, like this version of my music, let's go for 100%. Like, I'm not gonna cut corners. I'm just gonna go all in.
What were some of the early struggles you had with putting those ideas and that creative vision into practice?
I think it's just being comfortable with the fact that I'm not hiding behind distorted guitar or like metal guitars or like the industrial sort of stuff, and really just utilizing my natural singing voice.
Mm.
And it's just like, I don't know, it's I'm hiding behind a lot less at that point. It's like this is as I guess as I guess intimate as I could get musically.
Did you have to force yourself to kind of be that intimate with just to intimate to kind of break out of that shell that you had?
In a way, creatively, it's like, yeah, I have the riffs and I have the ideas, but it's like, okay, I have to visualize myself that I'll eventually be playing this material live.
Mm.
And how is that going to be too? Because I'm not going to be like running around and screaming and ripping my strings off and just totally losing my shit. Like this is like the chill, mellow out version of myself. It's like, how is that going to work? And but then with the music too, it's like, yeah, I've been brought to, like, my dad used to bring me to the blues bars to do blues jams and stuff like that when I was younger, which was great developmentally. And it's like, all right, well, let's just see what it's like. People can dig it. That's great. If not, at least it's for myself, like something I really enjoy and can dig.
Were you adamant, always adamant, as you started this journey that this was going to be a full album release? It was definitely going to be something you did, or did you hit any kind of roadblocks on the way that made you think about just abandoning it?
It was actually started off more of like, well, I like the idea of attempting to compose music for potential sync placement in TV and film and radio.
Oh,
So it kind of started off like that, and then it actually evolved into like, okay, I'm actually going to be singing on this album. Okay, it's actually going to be an actual main album, not just like an EP sort of thing. So then there's my whole sort of timeline, and the way I was producing the tracks and composing everything kind of changed over the course. But it's it was all natural though. It naturally evolved in that way. It's like I didn't have to like force anything to happen. It's just like, so that was
just
great.
naturally evolved. I love it. What about
Yeah.
some of the more fun and interesting aspects? So we kind of did the struggles, but on the flip side of that, what about some fun and interesting aspects that you had along the way?
I think a lot of the fun side of things and really interesting side of things is more the way I'm using some of the instrumentation, like on a song called Sultry Eyes, like kind of channeling like I guess a fun jazzy blues Elvis inspired vibe, and then like having a cool horn section, and it's just kind of, I don't know, kind of has some movement to it that I'm not really used to articulating in my music previously. So I just like kind of like, let's see where it goes. Like just go for it. If it works out, that's fantastic. If not, like not really much of a loss, because I'm just, it's such a positive experience overall.
So it has been that positive overall. It has a obviously your creative output and out up to this point has been in a certain way. Do you kind of see this as just more opportunities for you to develop as an artist singly, to continue to sort of see what you can do?
Yeah, the as the album started to progress, the main focus became, I want to become a better songwriter.
Ah,
Not to say that the stuff I've done beforehand isn't good. It's just, you want to evolve and you want to set some sort of challenges for yourself. And I had actually written a completely different album before this, which I put on hold, which I'll eventually go back to. But now that I've done this album and kind of come up with different processes and really push myself in certain directions, now I can reapproach that same material more with from a new perspective. And it's like, okay, this song is actually good by itself, or you know what, let me just take the bare minimum and then scrap everything else and rebuild it to just make it the best version of it. So it's
amazing.
so this album's really kind of influencing a lot for what I have coming out in the future as well.
Okay, okay, that's cool. Did a lot end up on the floor, the cut room floor, as it were? Did you kind of find that it was quite complete at the start?
To be honest, I really didn't know what the end result was going to be as far as the
Mm,
track list thing. Some interludes I actually just thrown together at the end because I'm like, I need a transition piece. I feel like it's too abrupt from, from an album play perspective. So there are a fair amount of interludes which I'd written maybe a long time ago, and now it's
mm,
just like, oh, let me reinterpret that, and it actually would make sense in this sort of playthrough. But
okay.
I do have a lot of other material from these sort of sessions where it's like maybe I could do like a part two or do a version, do an album, down the line where it's more like less rock, but more focused on jazz, blues, Americana, rockabilly sort of thing.
Oh, wonderful. Just keep it to the side until you feel ready to look at them again.
Yeah, yeah, just kind of let it marinate in the dark.
So yeah, I mean, this album, I sort of see it in tune with what its sort of theme is, lines in a roadmap that you've drawn as you travel. It's not a straight line either. It's you've gone exploring and passed through locales that offer up a wide array of experiences, and each song reflects that in some way. Yet it also has a strong relatability because of the feelings that come from that. Is that kind of what you would hope or want people to feel, or do you have your own version of what you want people to feel from this album?
I really don't have any expectations of what I want people to have or like a specific synopses to experience per se. I just want it to be something that, somebody puts it on and they can just dig right into it and it's, maybe something resonates,
Hmm.
and that's really all I can ask for.
What
It
about
would be cool if people were like, I'm going to go on a road trip. You know what? This album is a road trip album. Let me just throw it on. Why not? Right.
do you take into account or do you consider the differences between, say, countries and stuff? For example, the road trip, Americana style road trip that you can have is very, very different to what I could do in the UK, for example. So it's a little harder to kind of picture.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that perspective. But you know, I would like to eventually visit the UK and Europe, and then obviously I'll be inspired by everything like that. So maybe that would be the part two.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, UK is an island. An island. It'll only take you a couple of hours to drive around it. But
Right.
Europe, jump in a car from Spain, and you can go all. I mean, the amount of different countries you'll pass through just driving, that'd be incredible.
Yeah.
What about concerns? Do you have any, or did you have any that making this album, putting it out, might append what you'd established about yourself up to this point, polarizing like listeners, or does that not really matter?
I think I was more concerned with that when I had ended my previous band, Dislocate, and started Martyr Art back in like 2003. Because the first album I did was so different from Dislocate, which was like new metal, post hardcore sort of vibes with some thrash mixed in. And people were like, I mean, it was still a small fan base, but it was like
Hmm.
people thought I'd sold out back then, or I just, I don't know what the vibe was, but yeah, I'm not really too concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, it's 2023. Most people kind of have almost like an iPod shuffle listening experience anyway. They'll go from genre to genre, artist to artist. It's not as I guess segmented as it used to be, where it's like you only really listen to these types of bands in this type of genre and subgenres that are directly connected. I mean, I listen to everything, so I think if anything, it's makes it a more appealing release and has maybe more potential to connect.
And these days, it's all about trying to get yourselves on playlists as well on the streaming side of
Yeah.
things. And it'll be interesting to see where Just Drive ends up. Where would you put it?
Yeah. I'd probably go, that's the thing. It's like each song is kind of different. Like Go As You Are is almost like if The Cure and Nirvana made a song and then was like, oh, let's drop a little Elvis Costello in the bridge, you know, and then like Just Drive Sunset Skies. That's like a very police inspired sort of song. I was even like trying to recreate Stuart Copeland's drum sound on that one. So I don't know.
Anything
I
and
think kind of
everything.
like the rock genre, not necessarily being picked up in the metal sort of
Mm.
circles, but I think people that may have listened to my previous stuff and are in the metal could appreciate the rock side of it.
I think so. An open mind always helps, I think, as well. But ultimately, it's important from a listener, from a fan, to want you to have a free reign on experimentation, regardless of the genres that you've made music within the past. The idea, I guess, is that we might never know what we'll get from Joey Diabolic next time. Is that how you want to be perceived?
Maybe not consciously, but that's kind of a pretty good assessment of things because like I have an album that's pretty much an electronic album that's Daft Punk meets Kraftwerk meets Deadmau5.
Mm.
I don't know if I'm ever going to finish it and release it, but that might be something down the road as well. I do have very heavy, thrashy, just sludgy, doomy stuff too in the wings. It's just what makes sense for the next release. So I think after I do shows on this album, I'll kind of have a better perspective of where to go next.
It is very, very exciting. And I kind of understand it. You're kind of ever creating, you're always kind of moving forward and always readying something fresh. Where does your work ethic come from?
I think I'm just neurotic.
Mm.
No, but I don't know. I think the fact is just I have to get this out of me. Like the ideas, I have to get them out of my head. I have to develop them, or they just live in my brain and kind of drive me nuts. But yeah, I mean, music's kind of like also like my gaming in a way, sort of thing. Like people like really get into that. Like this is how I create. This is my sort of universe per se. And then people want to check it out, and that's cool.
Would it be fair to call it an addiction?
Oh yeah, a very healthy addiction, a creative
Mhm.
addiction.
Do you think you've got a good balance on when it comes to working hard, being creative, but also taking time for yourself?
Yeah, you know, I don't need a whole lot of downtime for myself to like recoup or whatever. But when it's time to create or time to put on the producer hat or the engineer hat or the recording session work sort of stuff, then that's my main focus, and everything else kind of disappears. So yeah, it's you're always trying to find a balance. Sometimes the
Mm.
balance is a little askew, but you know, I
And do you,
also force myself to like not just always be creating too. So like I'll not do something for a couple weeks and then book out whatever, like 2 days or whatever, and then do everything in that.
right.
So,
What about the other aspect of making music, being creative and wanting to get it out to an audience these days, social media and aspects like that? Is that an area you think you've got a good handle on, able to promote yourself well? And is it something you enjoy, or would you rather not have to do it?
um, I think I mean, from an organic perspective, I think it's a struggle for a lot of musicians. Um, in, at our level because there's so much competition and really trying to get your voice heard, and if that's the voice that someone's looking for and trying to find your tribe. um, but I am interested in the process of it, and when somebody does come along or come across my music, I usually ask them like, how did you find me? What platform did you listen to me on? Like it's useful information,
Uh,
just so I can kind of apply that to like maybe the next way I do a post or the next way I do marketing for something.
That's really interesting. Yeah, you never really think about that because, of course, you see your numbers in Spotify, and you see, what say territories or locations are listening to it. But to be able to utilize it, I wouldn't say many artists or bands ever really do or think about it.
Yeah, I try to be conscientious about it because I mean, if if my purpose or if what I'm trying to do is grow my audience and everything like that, I also want to have, you know, that interaction with people as if I was meeting them in person after a show. So I really do want to focus on that human element as well.
That's awesome because, of course, it's so hard to do these days, particularly when you have no choice but to be talking to people via
Right.
the computer.
Yeah.
Um, for you, what's one song from Just Drive that you're particularly interested in seeing the reaction to?
I would say maybe Sultry Eyes.
Hmm. Why?
So there's actually an interlude that opens it called Breathless Mahoney. And that's, like as a kid, I watched this movie called Dick Tracy.
Oh yes, it's been a while, yeah.
And I really loved the soundtrack on that. And actually, the album that Madonna did in conjunction with that album, there's like some really cool songs on that. So I kind of wanted to bring that sort of vibe to songs. And then it was also inspired being down on Bourbon Street in New Orleans too. So I was trying to get that sort of just just trying to channel the vibe and energy of me, just checking everything out when I was down there. And also like the choruses, those are kind of, I don't know, Tom Waits heavy, as far as the sound. And yeah, I think it's just kind of the juxtaposition between the verses and the choruses. And yeah, I'm really interested to see what the reaction is on that one.
Amazing. So you've kind of spelled out a little bit of your plan or your roadmap, as it were, for the next couple of months and so on. But can you go into depth about what you think the future does hold for Joey Diabolic? Or is this something you're just kind of waiting to see how things work out?
I used to do this thing where I would kind of over project what things would be, and I'd always have to course correct along the way. So this time
Mm,
around, like I have general ideas of like and um timetables of like when I want to kind of hopefully initiate things, but I'm just gonna kind of let things happen naturally on this one. It's like, okay, so like I'm getting a vibe for this. Let me just knock it out real quick, 1 or 2 days in around, put it out then, kind of per interact or per instance, as opposed to like trying to think ahead of everything and then realizing, oh, this isn't going to work out, but I already committed to it, and you know,
so it's
yeah, I'm just going
less.
to kind of be a little bit more laid back on this one.
Oh, that's cool. So it's less like spinning plates and more just several pots simmering until you're ready to put them on the boil.
Exact. That's actually a great analogy. I like that.
Amazing, amazing. All right, let's try and look into the future a bit here. Say 12 months' time, you're looking back at Just Drive. What would you hope to be able to say in regards to measuring its success? So you look back and you feel it was successful for what reason?
Um, Hypothetically, that I got a positive response on the album, got some good streams out of it. Um, Maybe elevate the project of Joey Diabolic to the next level, whatever that level looks like,
Mm,
and establish myself into the LA music scene, you know, because there's tons of clubs out here. Everyone seems pretty chill and pretty open. And the idea I have is to do mellow sets that's more um, around the Just Drive material, and then do metal sets, which is more of the older stuff. So I could hit maybe both, um, you know, both or two different scenes simultaneously. So that's kind of the idea. We'll see what
I
happens
love,
with that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Okay, last one then. What's your favorite thing about being Joey Diabolic?
I think it's just I don't really limit myself creatively. I think that's like the thing I
Yeah.
appreciate the most. It's like, yeah, being a solo artist and all that sort of stuff, it's like you have control over everything. But I think it's just, as opposed to what I was doing in Martyr Art, which like I felt like things had to be done a certain way. Like this, it's just like whatever, different drum sound on every song. Write the songs. Don't even think about how you're going to figure out how to play them live. So it's just kind of way more free form, and um, the song being the most important thing, as opposed to what I think as a person it should be. Just letting the art be the focal point.
Feel like every artist in the world would want to be able to say they could do that and have that, but very few do. So it's you're blessed that you have that opportunity. You've created the opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, it's a nice position to be in.
It is indeed. Okay, Joe, we actually reached this point in the interview where we switch things up, and this is Ozzy Osbourne. And in his head, hold a ton of cards that are random questions, from the most silly to the most serious things. And I'm going to pull some out, about 5, and you're going to answer them if you would please.
All right, I'll do my best.
Okay, all right. We'll randomly pull one out, and I have number 19. And it begins with, what was the last TV show you binge watched?
Suits.
Suits. Oh, there's a lot of seasons of that, isn't there?
Yeah, I believe there's 7 seasons, 9 seasons.
Did
I
you
don't know.
do
The
them
show was
all?
incredible. Yeah, oh yeah. I was like obsessed with that show. I
I'm
actually
not.
I saw all these clips on TikTok about the show. I'm like, this, I don't know what the hell this show is, but I'm hooked. And then I figured out what it was, and that was actually before they re-released to Netflix. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Never seen a single episode.
yeah, it's really cool. It's really fun. It's like a comedy drama.
Okay, right. Number 2. What is your favorite dinosaur?
Stegosaurus.
Okay, it's Stegosaurus. I think that's the first time anyone's ever answered that question with that one. Everyone who goes for
Really?
T-Rex or Velociraptor.
See, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, let me try something a little different.
Okay, number 70. If you could live in a different era of time, what would you choose and why?
I don't know. I feel like the Victorian era would be pretty cool, especially all the architecture and probably, I guess, more or less the origin of like Gothic ideology and visuals and concepts and stuff like that. I think that would work for me.
That's a cool one as well, because that's a period where creative freedom was growing and ideas were coming out and developing as humanity.
Yeah.
Okay, number 63. What is a topic that you were quite argumentative about?
That Saint Anger isn't as bad as people think it is.
I feel
It's
like
all about the lens, right? Because I listened to that and I'm like, oh, that's kind of like Metallica doing their version of Sepultura's Roots album.
I've not heard that comparison, but I like it.
Uh,
I feel like the older that album's getting, the more forgiving people are becoming about it.
yeah, I think it was just it's something. I don't think anybody expected that to be the album that they dropped.
It was
So
that, wasn't it? The surprise.
yeah,
Okay, right. Last one. Number 32. What is your go-to cocktail?
dirty martini, extra dirty, vodka, not gin.
Okay. That's your go-to
Yeah,
cocktail. I don't think I've ever had that.
yeah, it's chef's kiss.
Amazing. Oh, Joey, there we go. I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Just Drive. It's an incredible album. Wish you all the success with it. Thank you again.
Thank you, Carl. This is great.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?